On this week's show, we're talking about BioWare seemingly back in the game with Dragon Age the Veilguard, Sony closing Concord studio Firewalk in the aftermath of the game's epic failure, and Nintendo stealth launch their own music streaming app. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly podcast, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together and round up all the week's video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Just search for GamerGuildTV or the GamerGuild Podcast and you will find us there every Monday, 8 a.m, coming to you in your ears or on your eyes or in your face, whichever preference you want to listen to. I don't know where I'm going with this one. Your podcast players for the week are myself, Chris at Arcane Rogue, and my man of many pixels joining me once again to round up all the news, Mr. Richie. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome, and we do have a great show lined up for all you viewers and listeners out there, but don't forget to ring that bell, like, subscribe. I'm doing things in like an odd order today, but we're just going to go with it. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I'm very tired, yeah. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you kept in the loop with all the great content we do here on the channel, such as this very show, our weekly live streams, our retro looks back, and everything else in between. Follow us on all social media channels at GamerGuildTV, Discord, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace. No, that's not actually a thing.
Is MySpace still a thing?
I have no idea. I think Tom just sold up and moved to the Bahamas. Merchandise store is live, but remember, don't buy anything from us yet because there is an upcoming Black Friday sale this month. We are now in November? That's
November,
that little time in between. But there is a 30% sale off everything come Black Friday. So we would encourage you to hold off. We're trying to save you money out there on buying our wonderful merchandise. Jumpers, hoodies, hats for your dog or your pet squirrel, whatever it may be, all available. But, of course, save yourself some money and wait till Black Friday. That's what I'm going to do anyway. Our weekly live stream this past week, Richie, was Black Ops Zombies 6, just in time for spooky season. Quick summary of your time with it. We played for just short of 3 hours, thanks to some epic individual in our team.
Yeah.
Just a quick summary of it.
I think Zombies is amazing. I do love Call of Duty Zombies. It's just fun.
It is. How were going back to the shooting mechanics? I know last week on the show I praised like the feel of it all.
It's Call of Duty. It is, well, Call of Duty is, they've absolutely nailed the shooting mechanics. So I was actually playing through using mouse and keyboard because that's the best way to play first-person shooters, but through the cloud. Apart from when they actually kicked me out once.
Yeah, that was about 2.5 hours in, I think.
Yeah. It was absolutely rock solid. I felt no latency. There was no issues. Even at times when I was playing Stadia, the mouse and keyboard felt a little bit sluggish occasionally, but felt rock solid. But I do actually have a complaint about Xbox.
Oh, go on, get to it.
Cloud gaming. I was playing Hellblade on Halloween, and it sucked. They really need to. The stream. Right. They really need to upgrade their tech, because I was playing on a Fire Stick, an Amazon 4K Fire Stick, and because that game's very dark, you get a lot of compression artifacts, and it was basically unplayable because with the game being so dark, it looked ugly as hell, and it's all compression artifacts in the blacks.
Just like little blocks showing up all over the place.
Yeah, that is not something I ever experienced with Stadia. So Xbox really need to upgrade their quality to get rid of stuff like that.
I'd be curious if it was something to do with the difference between each device, because obviously the Fire Stick's only recently got Xbox Cloud Gaming, so I'm wondering if I don't know, but across every device and every method of playing, like if you played it on Xbox,
it could be, but it shouldn't be.
Absolutely.
Because what it is, it's just the blacks are horrible to compress. And you have to compress the file for streaming. It just has to be done.
Yeah.
But they need to work on their compression algorithms or do some trickery that Google Stadia did, where it actually rendered at double resolution.
It smooths it out.
Yeah. But I know it's new to the Fire Stick, but it should be in a playable state.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was.
It's still in beta, right? Technically, the whole program, like 5 years in, it's still in beta.
You can only hide behind a beta tag for so long.
I mean, yeah, especially when we've seen literally competition come and go. It always struggles with blacks. I think it's the color variance, because there's so subtle difference, isn't it, between like shadow. It's easy to pop like red to blue, red to green, but I think there's so many subtleties within the black kind of color spectrum, even though it's not a color. It's so hard to know. I always find that when I watch like the House of Dragon, Game of Thrones on not HBO, we get on Now TV over here. But for the first couple of days when they upload that video file, it's so bad for the dark shows. I remember watching what was the Game of Thrones one where all of the whole battle took place in the dark at Winterfell, and it was just so hard to watch. Like you said, like little flickers in the greys and the blacks just don't do it justice.
What I think made it worse was, for me, Hellblade visually is the standard Xbox should be working towards. And I don't think most Xbox games come close to how beautiful that game is.
Yeah.
So to have such a pretty game, because when you're in light scenes, it looked great. As soon as you start getting the dark scenes, which is a lot of, it looked terrible. It's a shame. It's because that's one of your games. You need to make sure you're nailing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's first party. Again, it's the showcase for the visuals that the Xbox first party can put out. And yeah, that looked absolutely stunning on my TV. But yeah, I can understand if that's your method of playing, then it should be on par, if not up to a certain quality level, especially if we've experienced it over the years via different platforms.
I'd take a solid 1080p over 4K blotchy any day.
Blotchy McBlotchy. Absolutely. But back to Call of Duty, though. Great time. I'm the same. I've been playing a little bit more of it this past week. Went back into the campaign, did a few more missions. I think I touched on the open world kind of Metal Gear Solid 5 area in the desert. Finished I was having that much fun doing the little objectives. I cleared the whole map, got the achievement for it. Like, didn't even realize it. It was just kind of, I'll just go to this objective. I'll go find that cache over there. I'll go take out this enemy base. And before you knew it, I did the whole thing. It was like, oh, sweet. And now we're on to the next campaign. So I'm having fun. Zombies. Shout out to, was it Taco__49? On this week's live stream. Like, if you've not checked it out, this week's Zombies live stream, we did for about 3 hours, but an hour and a bit of that solid was this gentleman.
An hour and a half.
This guy showed up in our team when was it Big Lawrence dropped out potentially? I can't remember. Someone had to drop out, and this guy like not only carried us.
No, he carried us
in the entire community, and
for about an hour of that stream, we were just dying. He was resurrecting us. We were dying. He was resurrecting us.
Yeah,
we did start getting back better. Actually, I think towards the end, we did start getting our eye back in a bit.
Yeah, it's if you've not seen it, go check it out. Even just the last kind of hour and a bit. But if you've ever seen like a pro Call of Duty player, this is what I would imagine they would look like. And somehow he ended up in our squad, and somehow the live stream got extended for like a further 40 minutes because we just didn't die. But it's a great laugh, it's great fun. Again, if you've not checked out Black Ops 6, it's having a massive resurgence. There is some stories in the news, which we'll get into, of course. Richie, anything in between you've been playing? Hellblade was your Halloween game, I take it?
I did actually touch on the Call of Duty story mode. I played about an hour, but I got the impression that I should have, like, there's loads of characters that the game seems to assume that you should know who they are, and it's like, I don't want to go back and play all the other Call of Duties. At the moment, I've got other stuff, so I was like, you know what? For me, if I feel like shooting something, I will quite happily jump into zombies for an hour or two, and that's good enough for me for Call of Duty. It's not a reflection on the quality of the narrative or anything. It's just it didn't click for me.
Yeah,
I finished Echoes of Wisdom. I 100% of that game, apart from the hero mode, which is just like an unlockable harder difficulty.
Right.
But I didn't fancy just playing the game on the harder difficulty for the sake of it.
So
I'm calling it 100%.
That's fair. And considering Nintendo have no such achievement ecosystem, you can take it. Well, I 100%ed it as far as Nintendo know.
Yeah, but in my actual playthrough, every side quest is done, every collectible is collected, every box that you could reasonably tick off is done.
Wonderful.
And I'm back to Jedi Survivor.
Right?
Yeah.
And then are we still on the horizon? Are we thinking Metaphor Refantazio?
Yep, that's the plan. I'm hoping to. I don't know how long it'll take me to finish Jedi Survivor.
Okay.
It's hard to grasp how far I am through the game, to be honest, because I've only played for a few hours.
Well, you've got a busy winter season coming up then. I've dabbled in some other things, which we'll get into later in the news, because we've got a special surprise upcoming for members throughout the course of the rest of the month is the plan. So keep checking that out. But Richie, we've got a busy show lined up for everyone. Plenty of news to talk about. Lots of reviews and stealth drops, as I mentioned, and closures, unfortunately, to talk about. But before we get into all that, I need you to introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And of course, the graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news, is always brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members who support this channel that extra little bit further, just like you can. Just by clicking join down below from as little as 99p, you can join. Just click it. Just see what happens. I dare you.
You enjoy it?
You might enjoy it. It might tickle your fancy. But yes, from as little as 99p, you can support us that extra bit further. Pretty much a two-man team at this point, every week bringing you the news rounded up, along with a live stream and a couple of little things in between. Wonderful Discord server, all ran by us for over 5 years now. Over 400 and, what are we up to? 435 podcast episodes we've been going consistently in our spare time between work and adult lives, and attempting to play games, of course, as well. So any extra support does help. I know we got a couple of super chats during the Call of Duty live stream, but consider it if you've been listening to us. Why not? We don't really usually ask for it that well. I think we could do a much better job at asking, promoting, talking about, encouraging you to support us. But yes, we do appreciate every one of those guild heroes and any future guild heroes. You do get stickers and badges next to your name in the chat and a bunch of little perks. But more importantly, as I said, as I teased, there's some upcoming content that's going to be exclusive for members over the next couple of weeks leading up to Christmas. So do check it out, do join, do support.
I'm looking forward to getting my new studio fully set up and move all this
into space.
And then I'm really looking forward to having the time back as well and not have to travel across town to record.
Yeah, space.
Which is what I've been doing for the last few months.
That's at least worth a 99p click for me personally.
It doesn't go towards my new studio build, but I still appreciate it.
It could go towards picking up Dragon Age the Veilguard, Richie, because the reviews are in. The game is out. It launched on Halloween. Dragon Age the Veilguard from BioWare and EA is the next in the critically acclaimed series. Reading from Metacritic, we have a generally favourable review average of 84, and there is a generally unfavourable review coming from user scores, but we'll get into that as it... unfortunately, I feel like Dragon Age, which is
political,
should
we just cover it straight out? A lot of the user score has been review bombed for political reasons. People calling it woke, not happy with the character creator, because I think it's, instead of having the binary decision of male-female, it's doing the more androgynous thing, where you can just make him either character look either way, and then you just pick your different voice.
Oh no, a character creator that gives you more options. Such a terrible thing.
I read a few of them. I don't really want to give.
No, it's not worth the time, really. If you're that disillusioned and feel that way towards the world, then just sink yourself into games, and the real world doesn't really need
read the user
time.
Scores if you want to, but
Absolutely.
Just don't take the number.
Let's pivot towards the professionals then who actually do this for a living and don't just play 2 minutes and then make up a decision based on internet conversation. Eurogamer gave it 100, which is a 10 out of 10. A fantasy role-playing game of astonishing spectacle. This is the best Dragon Age and perhaps best BioWare has ever been. 100. Reading from GameRant, they say 100 as well, so 10 out of 10. Dragon Age the Veilguard certainly closes a chapter for Dragon Age as a whole, but one can't help but look more brightly at the future. One where BioWare has seemingly broke a curse it's been shackled with for years. As a labyrinthian task, I don't think I've ever said that word, Dragon Age the Veilguard has promised fans that BioWare is one of the best storytellers in the medium, one capable of bombastic gameplay and enthralling narratives that will linger for years. Let's get one more out just to give us a general consensus. I'm looking for the good ones. Games Radar gave it a 9 out of 10. Dragon Age the Veilguard is an approachable, expansive, action-oriented RPG and feels like a true end to whatever the franchise was before. The book's not finished, but a significant chapter has closed. While Dragon Age the Veilguard is undoubtedly different in many ways from its predecessors, and takes lessons from the Mass Effect to heart, there's a lot to love mechanically and narratively about the new normal and what's hopefully the foundation of what's to come. So overall consensus, Richie, from all the big hitters out there is it's averaging somewhere between like an 8.5 to a 10. So it's sitting at the top end of the scale. Like I said, the Metacritic, very, very favourable at 84. It's in the green. And you, as the only one out of the two of us who's played a previous Dragon Age, I know you were on the fence. You were going to wait for reviews. I know you've got Metaphor lined up, but does this encourage you to get around to Dragon Age at some point?
Yeah, at some point. But I think it's not a day and date for me. I'm not desperate to play this game. I have a kind of a bit of a love-hate relationship with Dragon Age, where I love the first one was one of my favourite games of all time. I loved it. It was like a dark, gritty fantasy. And every iteration just seems to take it away from that, what made it such a unique, interesting game for me. I didn't love Inquisition. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I found as the game went on, it got a bit boring. They changed the art style for me as well. It never meshes with what I want a Dragon Age game to be.
Yeah. In my head, I'm always
it to
like
be that
The Witcher.
dark, gritty fantasy. Yeah,
like that's
I want it to
the
be in
style.
similar tone. And so when it's more cartoony, it goes graphically. It's like, are you getting away from what made BioWare such a like Mass Effect is quite dark and gritty as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you moving away from what made these games great to begin with? Why people fell in love with them?
Yeah, we should point out the director actually has clarified that the new Mass Effect game they're working on, supposedly off the back of Veilguard, won't change its art style. They've said that's sticking with the tradition. I think it's just got some people concerned that this is the direction the whole studio's going in. I will say though, I'm very happy for BioWare. As someone who played the entire Mass Effect trilogy in recent years, I never was around for the fest go around, the merry-go-round. I think they've been getting a lot of stick for the last couple of titles they put out. It was Anthem, wasn't it? It was their big the breakout multiplayer attempt. And as much as the mechanics were okay in that, I think the game itself really stumbled and ultimately failed very quick. So it's nice to see them return to critical reception.
We've seen it loads of times now. You take a critically acclaimed single-player narrative developer and go, you guys need to make a games as a service game. And it's like, but that's not where their talent lies. I think with the art style, I'm always critical of it, and I'm always going to be critical of that kind of candy art style that Fortnite kind of popularized, because I hate it. I think it looks ugly. But honestly, if I was playing this game and the gameplay and the narrative is good enough, I think after an hour or two, I wouldn't care anymore.
Yeah, I think you would switch off from it.
Yeah, you do. So I don't know. I think I do want to play it. I will play it at some point, but I think it might, with something like Metaphor coming across, and with how much I love Persona 5, and then Metaphor being like kind of compared to Persona 5, and potentially some people even claiming it's better than Persona 5. My attention's over there. So BioWare haven't quite yet captured my attention. If this was one across the board 10s, I may have been my head been turned. But we're looking at a 8.5 to 9 out of 10 game versus an 8.5 to 9 out of 10 game. And I only have time at the moment to play one. And I don't even have time to play one at the moment. So I'm going to finish Jedi Survivor and probably Metaphor ReFantazio. But you never know. In the next few weeks, by the time I finish Jedi, my mind might have changed.
Yeah, can go with the flow, see how it's at. You might get a Black Friday price drop, and then all of a sudden, like I said, things change, your mood changes. We've all done that, haven't we? Where we sat down with the intention to play or buy something, and then you kind of get there and go, I'm not really scratching that itch right now.
What's more likely to happen is I'm going to watch my girlfriend play Dragon Age, and I'm going to play Metaphor.
Yeah, you can experience video games through other means. Yeah, it's like I'm still watching the Elden Ring playthrough that started what feels like over a year ago. The YouTubers that I'm watching, and it's like, because I know I won't play Elden Ring, but I think I must be. I think their stream they put up this weekend was like 3+ hours. So I'm
probably 100 hours in.
It's like just my background noise, to be fair. But I'm watching it almost like it's a long running TV series, and it's a nice way for me to enjoy games that I appreciate, but I just won't play myself. Just in the background while I'm washing dishes or doing ironing or sound like housework stuff, boring housework stuff. Back to Dragon Age though. The score, looking at the history of the series, it puts it in good stead for potential Game of the Year. I know it wouldn't be mine because we're not going to play it, but in terms of the history of it, obviously you mentioned Dragon Age Inquisition. That got Game of the Year back in like 2014, 15, whatever it was. That has a 75% score across Steam and Metacritic. Dragon Age 2 has an 80%. Dragon Age Origins has surprisingly the best score at 87%, and Veilguard coming at 84 puts it in line with like up there with what seemingly competed before for Game of the Year.
I feel like Inquisition scores been pulled down over time. Because I'm pretty sure that was like a 9 and 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think maybe just as more reviewers played it, more people played it.
Mm-hmm.
What they loved at the time. This is the problem. Sometimes the problem with the Steam, especially when it's a live review platform. A game might be absolutely amazing when it comes out, but then 10 years later, it feels like a very dated prospect.
Yeah.
Which I think might be what's happened with Inquisition. So if people have bought Inquisition on the run up to Veilguard and went, how on earth was this Game of the Year? Because they're used to playing a AAA modern RPG, something like a Baldur's Gate 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's nowhere near the quality.
Yeah.
But when it came out, it was the standard.
Surprise people. Interesting.
You have to remember, this is a pre-Witcher world. The Witcher 3, I think, elevated the genre.
Yeah.
And what was expected from an RPG. So,
could you imagine how big The Witcher 4's launch is going to be? Like, if you think of how big Cyberpunk was, and that was a brand new IP, I think CD Projekt just have that. Even after Cyberpunk, they still just have almost like that Rockstar goodwill, where they could put out pretty much anything, and it would get the right kind of hype and audience behind it.
I think Cyberpunk's generally looked unfavorably nowadays, though.
I think after Phantom Liberty in the Game of the Year, I think everyone's went like, yeah, it's epic.
Yeah, it's like you fucked up the launch, but you got it there in the end.
Which is it's unusual,
It's I think it's similar to No Man's Sky, where the marketing completely ran away with itself.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you actually market the game that it was, rather than the game that people envisioned it could be, it would have done a lot better on launch. Because I had a great time playing it.
Yeah, I enjoyed what I played. I still not got back to it. I remember I think I bought the complete edition, probably this time last year actually, when they put it out with the Phantom Liberty DLC, and I installed it and then did that gamer thing where I just never started it up. So it's just sat there. I'm like, why did I buy it?
I've done the same thing actually.
Why did I buy it?
I don't know if I bought Phantom Liberty, but I think I definitely bought Cyberpunk on the sale.
Well, I think I got that because we got our Stadia refunds. I didn't actually own it, and I was like, well, I did enjoy the 20 hours I played until I got save locked out. If you remember, I got booted out of a window and it launched me into the desert, and then I couldn't complete the mission because you had to climb through the window to this little building, and I couldn't physically do it, so I couldn't progress. And then obviously Stadia went and it all got shut down with it. But again, bringing it back around to Dragon Age, I feel like BioWare has almost been a problem of its own success, where it's just got this like EA/BioWare stink on it now, where unfortunately
they haven't had a hit since Inquisition.
Yeah, but I think what to look at this game from fresh perspective, it's like if you like fantasy, if you like action adventure, if you like AAA quality, you're probably going to enjoy this game. Regardless of playing previous entries, if you just want something to scratch that fantasy open world itch, this will probably be it. I was looking at a Forbes article, and the top comment on it says, this is not a game, it's just propaganda. It's like, no, it's not. No, it's not. This cost probably $400 million to make. It's took 5+ years of a dedicated, passionate team of individuals who have all sorts of backgrounds and religions and all that stuff that Ubisoft say at the beginning of every Assassin's Creed team. It's not made as propaganda. Pull your head out your ass and go enjoy video games, you idiot.
The thing is, by removing, say, a male-female binary choice on your character creator and having it as androgynous, it doesn't do it take away from anything that how you define yourself.
No.
And guess what? Dragon Age has always had gay relationships in there. They've always been there.
I mean, everyone was raving over Baldur's Gate last year because you had sex with a bear.
Yeah.
But that's okay, apparently, in today's world.
Like Mass Effect, BioWare have always been that company. They've always had this inclusion in there.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! In Mass Effect, you can date aliens.
Yeah. So bears, aliens, that's fine.
Yeah,
But
that's
a
cross-species,
human
surely
who
that's
identifies
yeah.
as something else. Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a mess
For
up
me,
one.
I'm all for games are for everyone, so everyone should be.
Yeah.
It should be approachable for
Mate.
everyone, and making it in a way that doesn't take. I don't think it takes away from anything.
No, not at all. I mean, some of my favourite games of all time, I play as a robot, a bandicoot, a dragon. So just, pull your head out your ass and go enjoy games. It's not realistic, you're right. And not only that does the bandicoot, he wears shorts or jorts. He wears denim
But he
jorts.
doesn't wear a top.
Yeah.
And sometimes he's in the snowy place. That's just ridiculous.
Well, it's like Donald Duck. Donald Duck and Winnie the Pooh don't wear pants. Are they just walking around in these kids' cartoons with a dick hanging out?
I don't know. I would rather kind of look at the reviews that address what the game is.
Yeah, I think the game
how good is the narrative rather than does the narrative hit my personal politics.
Yeah, this is, again, it's more just the vocal minority online, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, Richie, shall we switch over to another woke game? I'm
Welcome
sure
to
this
the woke
keep
cast.
everyone happy. This is Life is Strange, Double Exposure. Which, of course, is the next continuation of the Life is Strange series. It sees the return of Max Caulfield, not to Arcadia Bay, but in a new setting and a new environment, where her powers have actually subdued, and she now has the ability to not time travel. It's almost like universe travel, I guess. The story takes place across two parallel universes, and Max can now jump back and forth between them to figure out the conspiracy, the story, the mystery that is Life is Strange Double Exposure. Murder mystery, of course. This is one that's on my radar, but I was kind of waiting to see how the whole thing panned out before getting around to it. Metacritic reviews have it sat at a 73, so by that standard, it's actually worse than Veilguard, but it's seemingly not getting as much stick at the moment.
Oh, I don't know. It gets a bit.
I mean, it's critic reviews over user scores.
User scores at 4.1.
Yeah,
mainly negative, but.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's pull some reviews for you fine viewers and listeners out there.
Although I'm going to point out, I had to read through some of the user reviews, and this game does something that kind of potentially spoils your ending of one. So with one being open-ended, there's quite a few different endings. Because you're going back to Max, the game has to pick one.
Yeah, at the end of the original.
I think that's where a lot of the negativity,
right,
where a lot of the review bombing is coming from, going, it kind of basically spoiled my ending. So it's...
Yeah, for those who aren't aware, then it's at the end of the original game, you make a decision right at the end, which either saves or doesn't save certain characters or people and locations. And I guess with them going back to the character, they had to make a decision on actually one of them needs to be canon, which kind of takes away the user choice. But looking at this game in the series, reading from VGC 24/7, they give it an 8 out of 10. Life is Strange Double Exposure is not the perfect follow-up to Max's original story, and truly nothing could have been. But as it mirrored Max's own character arc, the intention here is to look forward rather than backwards to a future that is bound to be messy and experimental, but meant to be approached with curiosity about what's to come rather than regret over what's been and gone. As ever with Life is Strange, the vibes of the game are perfectly suited to the story it sets out to tell, even if the details get muddled sometimes. The 6 Axis also give it a 8 out of 10. They say Life is Strange Double Exposure is a very easy game to recommend. If you have enjoyed the previous games in the series, this is doing exactly going to scratch that exact same itch with some low-key mystery vibes thrown in. The ability to shift between timelines become a touch overwhelming at times, but there's several things in place across the UI / accessibility options and narrative flow to keep the gameplay smooth. What's more, I think this game might have redeemed Max Caulfield for me too, so take that how you will. Okay.
I thought she was a pretty damn good character, to be honest.
I mean, depends on your choice at the end, right?
Oh, yeah, but...
Potentially. Again, read into it as you will.
But the character is well written.
Yeah. Let's pull some lesser scores. Games Radar gave it a 7 out of 10. Life is Strange Double Exposure draws you into a mystery full of intriguing twists and turns in a refreshing university setting. The new shifting ability that allows you to jump between parallel timelines works well in the context of a murder investigation, but can make it hard to feel like you're truly connecting with the characters. Overall, Max's return feels like finds its feet towards the end and builds towards something bigger. Interesting. So overall, Richie, again, it sounds like just another solid entry in the Life is Strange series. I know we're all big fans of it. We really enjoyed True Colors, actually, which was the last entry in the series. It is connected, not directly to the rest of the universe, but I know there's a couple of people on our Discord talking about where to jump in to the series. I think Life is Strange True Colors is a standalone. If you're looking for like a more modern version, I'd recommend True Colors to anyone who's thinking about it. But I think if you want to start...
My recommendation for Life is Strange is literally start at Life is Strange 1. I think it's an amazing game. Then go on to Before the Storm.
Yeah, a real remastered came out last year, remember? So that's got 1 and Before the Storm in one bundle.
They are, for me, the strongest of the series so far. I haven't played Double Exposure. 2, it didn't click for me. I would like to go back and play it to finish it, but I think I got caught out by the release schedule being like...
Two, it's the boy and his brother.
Yeah.
I've not played 2. Is it necessary, would you recommend?
I never finished it because of with the release schedule at the time. It was like I played like the first 2 chapters, then it was like 6 months before the next one. It's like I like these games being episodic, but I'd like all episodes to be released at the same time.
Yeah, this is the trouble Telltale had, and kind of Life is Strange followed that, and that was my concern with Double Exposure. Is the release chapters 1 and 2 first is like if you bought the deluxe edition, you got them like 2 weeks early, and then the whole game came out, which is why I think a couple of game reviews have been staggered, because they were able to play the first half of the game and then had to wait to finish it for the review. And I think that timeline gap in people's real world lives, it's that disconnect. It's kind of why some shows do great on Netflix by a binge watch where they drop the whole season at once, and others maybe benefit from the weekly cadence of checking in with it, but it doesn't work for every show. And just like I don't think it works for a video game, because you get to the end and it's like, oh great, now I have to wait to keep playing, but I've got this weekend off and I'm busy next weekend. You're at the risk of your audience not engaging with your product for long enough to enjoy it.
Yeah. The argument for like a weekly release for a TV show is you get the water cooler moment. Everyone goes back into work and goes, "Oh my god, did you see that show last night?" Whatever it is, and you get that discussion. You get that ongoing engagement online with like social media. Where when Fallout came out, it was dropped all in one go. Me and my girlfriend watched it over the space of literally a day. Like we watched one episode, the next day we just binged the rest of the series. And that's how we engage with it. And I love doing it like that. But it meant then it was like after that weekend, it was gone. So, but I think a weekly cadence isn't too bad. If like an episodic game came out and went, right, episode 1's this week, next week you get episode 2, next week you get episode 3, that's going to be fine. But when at times it was like, I think months between, so it's a bit too long.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's why I fell off on 2, which is the change obviously up for True Colors.
Yeah, I don't think it works for just video games in general. Like, I know it gives the devs a little bit more time, they get some money in the door, but I think I can't remember which Telltale game it was that they actually didn't finish the final like chapters or something, and they had to like scrounge for investment to get them over the line. I don't think it was a Batman one. Can't remember which. Comments, let me know which Telltale game it was that floundered and then had to get it put out. But in terms of Life is Strange, it looks like another solid entry. It's interesting that they went back to Max after seemingly got away from it with True Colors. I thought they would have kept going on like a new trajectory, but maybe True Colors didn't do enough and there was a clamber for like familiar characters to come back. But
it might just been they had the story there. But perhaps. I think because every other game has been a new set of protagonists, there's recurring characters. But even like Before the Storm, you're playing as Chloe rather than Max.
Yeah.
But that is kind of a side story. That was almost like, was it actually DLC? Or was it standalone?
Before the Storm was separate, yeah.
Yeah, it was a separate, but it was just like a side thing that kind of built on. It was like a prequel to Max's story. So I don't know. It's quite interesting to go back to Max. I'm looking forward to playing it. I just don't know when.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think the reviews and the cadence releases had me kind of thinking like, oh, I could have jumped into it. I might not, but there's so much out there. We'll have to see. But another solid entry in the series. So let us know in the comments below if you've played Life is Strange so far, if you've checked it out, how far in, and what your thoughts are. Right, Richie, moving on to some sad but I guess expected news. Firewalk Studios, the team behind the latest entry from PlayStation, the Concord, in their first party exclusive lineup, which we know opened to terrible reviews and terrible sales numbers, and then seemingly was shuttered briefly, almost like a week after launch, pulled from the game store, and then people start getting refunds, and it looks like ultimately Sony, PlayStation, the powers that be, have made the decision to just close the whole thing down. So Concord is no more. Reading from a blog post from SonyInteractive.com, and CEO of PlayStation Studios Business Group, Herman Hulst. Dear team, today I want to share some important updates from Sony Interactive Business Group. We're consistently evaluating our games portfolio and status of our projects to ensure we meet near and long-term business priorities. As part of our ongoing efforts to strengthen SIE's studio business, we've made the difficult decision relating to two of our studios, Neo Koi, which probably no one's ever heard of. They were making a mobile game. That's why no one's ever heard them. And Firewalk Studios, the Concord developers, closed down. Expanding beyond PlayStation devices and crafting engaging online experiences alongside our single-player games are a key focal area for us as we evolve our revenue streams. We need to be strategic, though, in bringing our new games to new platforms and recognise when our games fall short of meeting player expectations. While mobile remains a priority growth area for the studio business, we are in the very early stages of our mobile efforts. To achieve success in this area, we need to concentrate on titles that are in line with PlayStation Studios' pedigree and have the potential to reach more players globally. With this refocused approach, Neo Koi will close and its mobile action game will not be moving forward. Regarding Firewalk, as announced early in September, then it gives you a link to the game closing down. Certain aspects of Concord were exceptional, but others did not land with enough players, and as a result, we took the game offline. We spent considerable time these past few months exploring our options. After much thought, we've determined the best path forward is to permanently sunset the game and close the studio. I want to thank all of Firewalk for their craftsmanship, creative spirit, and dedication. The PvP shooter genre is a competitive space that is continuously evolving, and unfortunately we did not hit our targets with this title. We'll take this as a lesson learned from Concord and continue to advance our live service capabilities to deliver future growth in this area. It then goes on to talk about restructuring and delivering the benefits to PlayStation and the audience, etc., etc. Thank you for your continued support. Richie.
Yes.
Any surprise, really? I know we theorised when the game epically failed at launch. It is a shame, but no surprise.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I think it was the game fundamentally just was 10 years too late. Like quite simply, if this came out 10 years ago, I think it might have done well. But now the genre is completely saturated. There's variants of this that you can basically play for free, like something like a Valorant that you're going up against. So why pay so much for a game when Valorant's already got an established community?
Yeah, this was £40 at launch, everyone remember.
Yeah, it felt like a cheap Guardians of the Galaxy knockoff. It was, I don't know, like gameplay-wise, it might have been good, but everything around it just didn't seem to be the right decision.
Yeah. So
I'm not surprised when they took offline, sat down, went, why is this game failed? They realize it probably is that fundamentally from the ground up. So it's not something that you could fix. If it was a case of, the game just needed retweaking, a bit of balancing here and there, or maybe the gunplay doesn't feel great, that kind of thing you could fix. But I think it's the fundamental design of the game.
Yeah, I mean, we should point out
you have to rebuild a new game.
We should point out the game, reviewed from critics, okay. It was getting 7s roughly across the board. But you're right, okay, in terms of critic reviews, great, but it just never got the marketing beats behind it right. It never got that audience.
I think okay for this sort of game is not good enough because, as I said, it's a saturated market. You might get some new players. Yeah, but largely you're looking at the guys who are playing Valorant, who are playing Overwatch, who might be playing things like Fortnite or Apex Legends. These people have got thousands of hours logged into these games, and that's where that community is. You're trying to poach them. Mm-hmm. So a game that is okay, and it has a £40 premium.
Yeah,
that's not going to turn many heads, and that's literally what's happened.
Yeah.
So it could be. You have to, I think, in order to enter that space, you have to be revolutionary. You have to take the genre forward be objectively better than what already exists.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like Concord was. It was decent. It was probably good, but not good enough to get the community.
Yeah. In another world, I'd be very curious to see what the outcome would have been if it had gone free to play at launch. I don't think it would have honestly helped it that much, but it would have definitely got a little more of a player base. And if you remember on launch, there was people complaining like matchmaking wasn't happening. Remember the beta, they actually,
no one was playing.
They had a closed beta that not enough people signed up to, so they went and launched an open beta the following week to try and get more bodies in the door to test this thing. And then at launch, Steam had 25,000 sales on Steam? That's it for a global launch?
That should have been telling, actually. We can't get enough people to sign up for closed beta. That we've had to go an open beta, and even then we didn't really get the numbers that we were hoping for. That should when maybe we need to refigure out our monetization strategy here.
Yeah.
If this was PlayStation Plus, then this game may still exist. It wouldn't be the success story that they'd hope it would be. But if it was PlayStation Plus, we probably would have played it on stream.
Yeah. Yeah, we would have done.
And then other people may have played it and go, you know what, I like this game. Me and my friends really enjoyed this. And then you maybe get a small community behind it. And then you have the scope to grow. That price point just puts people off.
Yeah, and that price point also has an impact on, I believe PlayStation probably went with the $40 price point to try and recoup some of the losses, because if you remember, we reported on previous episodes of this show that this game cost upwards of $400 million. The early development and then the Sony buyout of this. Remember, Sony only acquired Firewalk Studio 2 years ago? So they saw Concord and thought there's something good enough here that we think will do well, and what a miss and a swing and a miss that was. It amplifies, like Herman Holston in his blog post says, about like understanding the growing sustainable finances in a challenging economic environment is critical. We continue to spot our single player games, and it looks like they are going to push ahead with their efforts. I know it says like we're in the very early stages of our mobile efforts. PlayStation have been trying to crack mobile for feels like 20 years now. And they're just not getting the traction, because even Nintendo, remember Mario Run?
Yeah.
And Mario Kart Mobile? Don't hear anything about that anymore. And it just shows you that good IP and having a history in video games, it doesn't translate to mobile one for one. And in a weird way, Microsoft just acquiring King is probably the most logical business decision out of them all. Because they've got history of it. They own mobile IP that gets millions and millions.
The market.
Yeah.
I don't think Sony understand. I think this is fundamentally part of the problem, is they don't understand the games as a service market that well, and they don't understand the mobile market that well, which is why they're struggling.
But they're like, well, we make games, so mobile games, right? It's like, no.
You've got the talent to make the game, but you need to understand what the game needs to be.
Yeah. And again, it's having the right talent, because, like, as we've seen, taking a studio that's famous for single-player, creative, story-driven games and putting them on a live service project, it doesn't work. Warner Brothers have just shit the bed with that as well, with Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. So it doesn't work one for one. And yeah, you can sprinkle the IP in it, which I'm sure Mario Go did really, really well. But ultimately, it needs to come from a natural place, not a forced one. And I think a lot of the industry is really being checked right now with its finances of actually stop chasing trends, because it takes too long to catch up to them. Just be the pioneers that you used to be years ago, and lead the charge with creativity, talent, great storytelling, and let the developers do what they want to make, not shoehorn into some... I sound like right at the beginning talking about Dragon Age, some agenda of like, we need to make live service money.
There's nothing wrong with like going, we're going to make some live service games. Good, do that. I think a diverse portfolio is important. But you hit the nail on the head when they're chasing trends and it takes five years to make a game. The trend is already on the way out. Sometimes the trend can be on its way out by the time you've got a game in a playable state. So what you need to do is predict where the trend's going to go. You need to be in front of it.
Yeah. But maybe not one that costs $400 million.
That's what PUBG did. PUBG popularized the Battle Royale genre. It was then probably arguably perfected by like Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone, and PUBG fell by the wayside a bit. But their success, because PUBG is janky. It doesn't feel that great to play. But they had this they had the concept there and went, we can do that. They popularized it. And then Fortnite went, that can save our game.
And
the world changed.
It did, yeah. And it will happen time and time over again. We just can't predict it yet because we're not the people. We're just the people who play the games and talk about the games. But it's very telling. It's not surprising. It's one of those things, unfortunately, for the developers as well. Like, the game looked great. It looked like a polished AAA shooter. So hopefully those folks find the right work. And I think Sony would be foolish not to just pick up that talent and sprinkle it amongst their wider teams, because evidently they know that. And I don't think PlayStation they're certainly lacking in that first-person shooter department. We spoke about it a few episodes back about what franchise they could be. I think Firewalk's team, based on what they made with Concord, with a Killzone or Resistance franchise, I know we spoke about it, about like what franchises could be picked up and handed over to other studios. We discussed on, I think, even just last week's show about the Killzone franchise. Guerrilla are done with it. These guys have just made a 7 out of 10 game with a live service, but the game looked polished and great, and the shooting mechanics were fun. They could have just put them on something like that, but instead they've got rid of them all.
They could have retooled Firewalk to be a support studio for like something like a Bungie.
Yeah, I'm sure they're clambering for some support and help. But again, we don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. I'd like to think as a business they're not daft enough to just like get rid of a team of like 100, 200 people who are clearly talented based on a game that maybe wasn't their decision in the first place.
The thing is, though, if they are cost cutting and they've got a game that's flopped, it might just be easy to go cross that out, get rid of that studio, and then there's suddenly out off the balance, all them people, are now looking for other jobs in other studios. A lot of them may transfer within Sony, but that studio is no longer a drain on Sony's accounts.
Yeah, remember a few years ago when everybody was buying studios up, Firewalk included.
Yeah, and they're literally not working on anything right now.
Yeah,
so it's the studios that are not currently got a project deep in development that are probably at the highest risk of getting cut, regardless of their pedigree.
It's one of those who kind of like read the market, but I think I've theorized it before in the past. Like, you could take a PlayStation IP, give it to an indie studio of maybe 10, 15 people, and make a indie side scroller. So I think I've theorized before. Take the Horizon franchise for an example.
Give it a Lego.
A Lego's gonna work. We'll see how that one pans out later this month. Give it to a team like the guys who did the Ninja Turtles game we played a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you get to play as Aloy, you get to play as Rost, you maybe get to play as some of the Raptor things, and you just go on left to right, side scroll in a pixelated art style with Horizon music, cute little Aloy in a little pixelated form with a bow and arrow and a sword, and you hack and slash your way from left to right fighting robot dinosaurs, robot hippos, whatever the hell it is. You get a score at the end, ta-da, and it's a small little 5-hour Horizon game. I guarantee you that would sell more than Concord in terms of units. £15, £20.
You just give me an idea, but I've got slightly different. Instead of just like a side-scroll beat-em-up, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Do that with Horizon.
Just any PlayStation IP. God of War. Give me Kratos. Give me Atreus. Let me fight left to right, or on like a Prince of Persia style Metroidvania game. In the IP alone, but it's back to over inflated costs. This cost $400 million. There's indie games of a quality standard that are far superior, and they probably cost 10 grand, 20 grand tops, because you're just paying a couple of guys' wages to grind on this for 2-3 years. But I just think if they're looking to diverse the portfolio, I feel like that's the gap that people will want. Like, just short little PlayStation experience. Give me
games as a service.
Yeah,
it's one of them. It's hard when you crack it. It's so incredibly profitable, and that's where the can be a bit overly focused on.
Yeah,
the focus on the potential outcome of it rather than how do we achieve that and how difficult it is. A lot of it is luck. It's getting the right game at the right time when you've got an audience that's looking for it.
Yeah. But RIP Firewalk Studios.
Yeah.
I no longer will get you confused with Fire Sprite, who are the guys who did the Horizon VR game. I don't have to worry about that now. It's just Fire Sprite, the only PlayStation studio. But moving on to, speaking of chasing trends, Richie, a little bit late to the party, but Nintendo stealth dropped this week. Not a Switch 2, not an announcement for a Switch 2, not a new game, in fact. A music streaming app onto Android and iOS. Surprise. Fittingly titled Nintendo Music, the new app will stream songs from nearly 40 years of Nintendo history and will be made, is available, I should say, on smart devices. You will need a Nintendo Switch Online membership to start using it, so it's an extra perk if you already have the Nintendo membership, and it's available for those who don't have it for no additional cost. So you can sign up to use it, basically. The launch trailer gives you a pretty good idea of what to expect, including the interface, which just looks like Spotify or Apple Music. And among the franchises that are included, as you would imagine, are Super Mario, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, The Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Pokemon, and more. Some of the features outlined include songs being streamed online or downloaded for offline listening. Songs can be organised by game in addition to making a curated playlist. Users will all be able to make their own playlists. There will be recommendations from Nintendo's history. There will be also a spoiler prevention filter to hide songs from certain games in case it ruins the game. And the ability to extend the length of certain songs by 15, 30 or 60 minutes. More music, Nintendo says, will be added over time. Currently, there is no legal way to stream Nintendo's classic musical songs in one place, so it's a pretty good surprise for fans, I guess. But yeah, Richie, Nintendo Music, it's out there, it's available now. As a little caveat, I will say it doesn't have a lot of the back catalogue that you would expect. Nintendo said they're going to be dropping new songs on like a regular cadence over the next couple of weeks and months. Little bit annoying that it's not all there at once to launch with. Like, imagine Spotify launching and going, we don't quite have all the popular music artists right now, but we'll get them, we'll sprinkle them in over the next couple of months. I can't help but just feel like Nintendo should have just put their tracks on Spotify and just let the world have at them. But no, they want to do their own thing. Richie, I'll pass it over to you. Someone who does listen to a lot of music game soundtracks whilst you work. Yeah. Is this like a big win for you as a huge Zelda fan, a Mario fan and such?
It fixes the problem that doesn't exist. The IGN article mentions there's no legal way to stream all of Nintendo's classic songs, but YouTube exists. Every single one of these tracks will already be on YouTube.
How do you listen to like Zelda theme stuff while you're working usually? Is it just YouTube?
YouTube. Yeah, just YouTube. So I've just downloaded it, actually. That's what I was just doing. But I don't see much point. I think Nintendo will be better served just doing it, creating a Nintendo Music YouTube channel and uploading everything there. Then you don't have to worry about maintaining a platform yourself. Mm-hmm. You're going to get in front of a lot more people. The whole Switch Online thing, I think, is just stupid. It's a nice perk if you have it, but it's also a completely pointless perk, in my opinion. So I don't really... If this was maybe an app on your Switch rather than a phone download, I could maybe start understanding a bit more. Mm-hmm. But I really don't see why they spend time doing this. Like,
it's an odd one. I've noticed as well some of the artwork looks cool, but then some of it looks like just screenshots from the game.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's a Nintendo just making a Nintendo decision. In the UK, it's been downloaded over 500,000 times on the Android storefront. How many times has it
been uninstalled?
I don't know if it tells you that, does it?
I don't know. I probably won't.
But yeah, it's definitely a Nintendo choice. But I feel like the best decision would have been to just release the library, as you said, either on a dedicated Nintendo Music channel.
That's what I would have done on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Music. Just get a Nintendo Music channel up there, upload them all, and go. If you want to listen to the best quality Nintendo stuff from a legal source, this is where you go.
Yeah,
you could even open up a membership thing on your YouTube channel. Yeah. Subscribe. I don't know.
There's that thing where it obviously fills a very niche gap that's there. I like the thought of being able to extend the songs. I think with Nintendo having the genuine true source files for the music could mean you'll get some really cool behind the scenes, maybe extended versions or unreleased things in the years to come.
I want to point out there's a few cool features. Like, I don't know if you can see there. There's a played games section. So the games that I've played are coming up on the last few games I've played. But apparently I've played Donkey Kong Country, which I don't think I have. But
So there's your semi-curated list of songs.
Yeah,
then.
so if there's a game you've played and you're looking for that particular track, you can go in and it's got the tracks there. So there is some cool functionality here, but I just don't think I'd be using this. I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Report
when
back
I
next
would.
week.
Yeah, I don't know when I
during
would
work.
be using this, to be honest.
Could Nintendo use this as a starting point to maybe curate all video game music? Because I think that could be a very unique selling point. If outside of Spotify, where yes, Spotify has a lot of it, if Nintendo could use their leverage in the industry to go to all the third parties and say, can we have all of the Final Fantasy tracks as well? Could we have, or you know what I mean, and branch out so Nintendo music is actually the video game music?
I think the limitations for Nintendo is it's going to be things that are playable on a Nintendo platform. So you might get some of the old Final Fantasies, but you're not going to get Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, that's a shame. Well, this is where hopefully we see this cross-media. I know PlayStation in their Concord closure blog post was saying like new platforms and new players. Ironically enough, Sony Music probably would have been the better party to launch something like this.
Yeah, I think you're probably better off having a completely third-party neutral platform.
Like Spotify.
Because with Sony Music, how well is Nintendo going to interact with that? And if you get losing Nintendo's music because they don't want to give money going over to Sony, then you're fragmenting it immediately.
Yeah.
So if it's a third party, say a Spotify games app, let's say, then Nintendo, if Nintendo on board and Sony are on board and Xbox are on board, Sega are on board, suddenly you got, and then you could have like by publisher split as well.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I don't know.
It's an interesting start. I don't hate it. I
don't hate it. I just think it's pointless. As I said, it solves a problem that doesn't exist.
Yeah,
but without testing its functionality properly, cool. It's on my phone now, so
there we go. Ready to start. Moving on though to some video game news. Off the back of that, we also got November's PlayStation Plus claimable games to play and download. The bigger one for me from this is, actually I'll read the list and I'll get into it. They start off with Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged for PS4 and PS5. Ghostwire Tokyo on PS5. A new game, day one release, Death Note Killer Within, is coming to PS4 and PS5, whilst your October games leave. So I think my biggest pick for this one is Ghostwire Tokyo. It's the one from the team who actually, they don't exist now, do they? I was saying that out loud. I'm like, Ghostwire went on to make Hi-Fi Rush. Sorry, they do exist because they were picked up by Tencent.
But no,
I can't recall.
I think it might have been. But...
Oh, was it Crafton who did PUBG? I feel like it might have been Crafton. Actually, now I'm thinking about it a bit more. You played Ghostwire Tokyo for
Ghostio
on our channel, actually, didn't you? As a first look, and you enjoyed what you played, if I recall.
I did. I had a lot of games on at the time, but it was very fun. Quite a unique concept. I really enjoyed what I played. I was actually talking to my girlfriend about this the other day, but not quite enough for me to want to continue playing when I had other stuff pulling me away.
Yeah,
but I would recommend people, if you do like your kind of first person games, it's got a cool setting, cool premise. The weird hand gestures for use your magic are quite cool. I know how much you hate your floating hands in first person.
Yeah,
but this actually uses them.
Uses the floating hands.
Yeah.
Ghostwire Tokyo is the top one. I think Hot Wheels 2 Unleashed is just more of more Hot Wheels race car track car fun. And then the one that I kind of didn't really know about was Death Note Killer Within. So this one is an online social deduction game for up to 10 players. You'll be split into 2 teams with different objectives. To win the game, players need to figure out each other's identities and either eliminate who's threatened someone's power or seize the Death Note. Enjoy a battle of wits with Kira and his followers. So I guess it's always nice to get one. It's a what?
I'm looking at the trailer. It's Among Us, but with Death Note. Death Note, brilliant anime series. This game looks terrible.
Well, what does it look like? Let's check. What makes it terrible? Death Note Killer Within.
Well, just watching the trailer, it's the weird, almost like pieces that everyone's playing as. And Death Note is very dark, very gritty, mature kind of
I've not. I've
like,
heard of
yeah.
Death Note, but I have no concept of what's the anime like.
So the basic concept is this genius guy finds a book where if you write someone's name in, they die.
Like a Death Note.
Yeah, a Death Note. That's what the Death Note, literally what the Death Note is.
Right. Okay.
And the power, basically, he's using it to start killing criminals, and then the Japanese version of like the FBI start investigating all these deaths, and he kind of lets the power go to his head.
Right. Okay.
Like as truly believing like he's like the god of a new world kind of thing, and it's kind of like really quite interesting.
Okay.
Because like the genius and the FBI is kind of like getting close to him and trying to like outmaneuver each other.
So it's similar to Dexter, where he's a murderer, but he's murdering bad guys. So it's kind of accepted a little bit more.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if the guys who made Dexter are fans of Death Note.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Looking at the
Obviously,
game,
there's more of a supernatural element.
Yeah, look at
Note.
the gameplay for this though. It looks like it's very simplistic. Like with the little dolls just getting moved around like a chessboard environment. It seems like how can we get an IP and link it into this really basic indie game?
I know, it's like if you look at the dolls and it just doesn't scream anything to do with what Death Note is. The tone feels completely wrong.
It's like they've put a skin over it.
Yeah,
that just doesn't fit.
I don't know. They're trying to make a kids game out of an IP that should not be watched by kids.
Yeah, I feel like Death Note would maybe be suited more as a Persona game. Just looking at the source material and the kind of the Japanese inspiration.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking at this does nothing for me. Like, great, you get it day one. I'm sure the PlayStation Plus will help with its audience, but
you know what would work for a Death Note game? LA Noire. You know, where you're kind of just going around and you investigate, trying to piece it out, because that's a lot of what Death Note is. Because you need to know the name of the person you want to kill.
Yeah.
And so, like the main character is investigates these criminals to find out who they are, what they've done, and specifically targeting things that the Japanese justice system failed to. So then he writes the name.
Interesting. Yeah, go check that out. That's your PlayStation. I think Tokyo Ghostwire is my top one for that one. But not many added, and surprisingly enough, no like classics to the library or anything like that. It's just a simple 3 games.
The monthly games. It's just the monthly games are usually a bit crap now because they want you to go for Ultimate to get the premium. To get the mid. It's the mid-month drop. It's the more interesting drop. I always find now.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Speaking of new drops of games, though, we got the announcement that Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is coming to the Switch. It's not a surprise, huge announcement, but what it does mean is that the 2015 sci-fi RPG that is currently locked behind the Wii U exclusivity brings enhanced visuals and gameplay to the Switch, meaning that the entire Xenoblade Chronicles catalog is now available in one place for the first time ever on one platform. So yeah, if you go on the Switch, you can play everything. So every game is playable on one console, including 1, 2, and 3, and everything in between. Is it Xenoblade Chronicles X, not 10? Yeah,
I think it's X, not 10.
Yeah.
So looking at the release timeline, you've got Xenoblade Chronicles 3D, Xenoblade Chronicles X, 2, Torna, the Golden Country. Then they brought out the definitive edition in 2020 of Xenoblade Chronicles. Then they brought out 3, and now this. So it seems like they are piecing together.
Yeah,
Never played one.
I was going to say they look like your type of games. They've got that like Final Fantasy style.
The reviews are always really good.
Yeah, it's one of those Switch Nintendo exclusives that kind of you forget exists, but then when you look at the sales numbers and the popularity, you're like, oh shit, this is a big deal. It's kind of like how oblivious to Monster Hunter I was until Monster Hunter Worlds came out. Worlds? Yeah. What was the last one? Monster Hunter World, wasn't it? The one that suddenly like took off and it was like, oh, it's bigger than Resident Evil for Capcom and stuff. It's like, damn.
You know what I think it is? It's an IP that found its origins in just this original Wii generation, which is I did have a Wii. Well, actually, my sister had a Wii, but I mainly used it to play Zelda, and that's about it. So it's just an IP that just probably completely passed me by, and by the time it started really get my attention, then it was onto the Wii U, which I didn't want. I did contemplate buying a Wii U once upon a time, but I didn't go for
Good
it.
decision. Good decision.
Yeah, so maybe it's something I need to add to my list of games I want to play.
Yeah, reading from for context, the kind of description of this game says the year is 2054, not too far away. Humans have fled Earth amidst a destructive intergalactic war. As one of the survivors and a member of the new Los Angeles colony, the mission is to help build a new home on the sprawling, hostile planet Mira. The seamless open world across 5 otherworldly continents is teeming with unknown creatures, some of which are epic in scale, as players fight for the future of humanity. So it seems like it's got a sci-fi tinge to it and such. But go check out Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition when it releases on 20th of March next year for Nintendo Switch. No mention of the elusive Switch 2 in that launch. But
this might be a last-ditch effort to get some content out for the Switch.
Yeah, absolutely. More game news, though, coming up for you folks out there, listeners, viewers. Don't forget, while you're middle of the show, like, subscribe, ring that bell, comment for the algorithm. It does help us out. But back to some Black Ops news. I touched on it at the beginning of the show, but we just wanted to touch in with Call of Duty because the official account tweeted out this week saying the Call of Duty series has sold more than 500 million copies to date. This elevates it to among the best-selling video game franchises in history, alongside things like Tetris and Pokemon. The milestone comes as the franchise's debut. This is the first franchise debut under the Microsoft banner after the $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard King. And I guess we kind of look at the success now and some of the stats off the back of Call of Duty. It's been the biggest launch yet. They celebrated that. I think Sarah Bond tweeted out about that. They've congratulated themselves. Basically, it's like most games now. When they launch, they always pat themselves on the back, and I think it was the biggest 3-day launch of a Call of Duty ever. And you sometimes wonder why they always add those like extra caveat sentences on to make it. Are they making it sound better and bigger than it is?
Because day 4 fell just under something else.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still an amazing achievement.
Yeah, I mean, the part of Microsoft earnings report, it's increased their first quarter earnings 61% increase year on year. Just again for having that as part of your portfolio now, which it's again when they spent the $69 billion, everyone's thinking, well, that's crazy. But then Call of Duty makes so much money year on year. You do, it's going to take them ages to pay it off, but you do still wonder if it's the right thing in the long run. We should also comment as well, unit sales on PlayStation and Steam were also up 60% year on year. So this game was free in Game Pass, and yet the other 2 platforms it's available on saw a 60% increase year on year. And personally, I put this down to the shit failure of Modern Warfare 3 last year, which annoyed a lot of people, pissed off a lot of people. And everyone was like, oh, is Call of Duty going to start to flounder? And then I think Black Ops...
The Activision baggage as well, I think, is a big thing where with Activision now being owned by Microsoft, there's a bit of people want to see a return to form from Activision as a publisher in general. Well,
it's worked out quite timely for Xbox because I think landing... Again, Black Ops, I think, is the strongest now. I think we commented during the live stream, like with the zombies accompaniment as well.
Yeah.
I think it's got a good swell of goodwill because of the Game Pass model. So pretty much if you own an Xbox, you should just get this for free. I can't imagine anyone out there owns an Xbox and doesn't have Game Pass.
Some people probably do.
Very few.
Yeah.
I would guesstimate. But then on the flip side, you got to remember, this is where we said Xbox with this purchase can have their cake and eat it almost, because everyone who has it on their platform, woohoo, we get it for free. But then everyone who still wants to play it elsewhere on their competitor platforms, they got a front £70 or upwards for the deluxe editions, up to 100. That's just free money for Microsoft, right? So you're having the best of both worlds. Anyone who's buying it on Steam, that's another $70. And this is the kind of option. And then people who want to play but don't want to front the cash go, well, I'll just subscribe to Game Pass instead. So Microsoft get that. And I think we covered it quite a lot last week on saying, and then you hope the Game Pass library keeps them in the door. You get them in, and then you look at the wider portfolio and go, actually, you know what? This Game Pass deals are not too bad. And then Microsoft dropped the new console in a year or two, and people go, well, I've got Game Pass, I might as well just get the console as well. And that is ultimately their long-term goal, right? It's just poach people on a gradual basis and retain them. But massive success for Call of Duty. I think our praise of it is adding to this fire that some people who maybe were lapsed gamers of the franchise have returned, whether that's through Game Pass or the hype of Black Ops and Zombies. And yeah, I'm hearing nothing but good things across the board. Good campaign, great multiplayer, and great zombies as well. So Black Ops 6.
Yeah, I mean, it's always done really well, but I think as the gaming industry has been more receptive this time round, and I do think is because under Bobby Kotick's leadership, Activision Blizzard became seemingly like the poster child for toxic workplace culture.
Yeah,
I mean, he is technically still there, but with being now under Microsoft, who have generally looked at quite favorably in terms of these kind of things, I think a lot of people being willing to give it another go who might have been boycotting because like I'm not giving my money to that to Activision, don't want to do that.
I thought he left.
Has he actually left?
Yeah, he left just before Christmas because then we joked and said it was an early Christmas present, didn't it?
I don't know if is he actually gone. Either way, but there's probably that element. The Game Pass element, obviously, is going to help.
Yeah, December 29th.
Then you got millions of people who buy Call of Duty year on year because that's what gaming is to them. Some people just buy Call of Duty, they buy FIFA, and that is all they do for gaming.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise at all that this is doing well.
Yeah, he left on December 29th last year, and Microsoft said they won't be replacing his role. So I think that's where they kind of just merged it under the... Yeah. It might have been when they did the restructure last year, and they kind of give loads of people different roles. Matt Booty and things moved around, I think, a couple of tiers and stuff, didn't they? And everyone started getting like new titles. But yeah, but I do think it goes a long way to just the industry stink of it's shaking off.
It'd be nice to see Activision publishing some other games other than Call of Duty as well, because that's another bit of baggage I think Call of Duty's always got. It's what I've had with it, like when they got I love Tony Hawk's, but then Vicarious Visions getting moved to be a support studio for Call of Duty. It's like seriously.
Yeah, it's odd decisions all around, but yeah, Modern Warfare 3 I think set the ball up for these metrics looking a lot maybe better than they should be, because if Modern Warfare 3 did well, it wouldn't be as high year on year. I've seen people still complaining about Black Ops in a way, actually, because the trophies on PS5 aren't there. So Modern Warfare 3 was essentially just a DLC for Modern Warfare 2 on the trophy list last year, and then Black Ops 6 apparently has a platinum on PS4 but not PS5.
That seems
I don't know what's going on, but it's because of the hub, the Call of Duty hub.
It's a cross-generational hub, isn't it?
Yeah, so because it's standalone on PS4, it gets its platinum trophy, but on PS5 it's part of the hub, so it doesn't get it. It's weird.
I know trophy hunters will hate this, but I think there should just be one list of trophies on PlayStation, regardless of what platform you play on. I think it's just kind of stupid that you have an entirely separate list for PS4 and PS5, and sometimes... like, you can have an entirely separate list of trophies. Because I actually have two Final Fantasy VII Remake trophy lists. One's a physical copy and one's a digital copy. One that was from PlayStation Plus, and they're separate lists, which is just batshit crazy.
Yeah, they do that, don't they? So when they do out I think it's for the remasters. So the remasters... This
wasn't even a remaster. These were the same. One was just a digital copy and one was physical.
No, but I'm saying it's for, when they do it goes on PlayStation Plus, but then when they bring out like an upgrade pathway, if you got the free PlayStation Plus version, they can say, you don't get the $10 pathway to upgrade because you got the free one, you didn't buy the physical one, or the full package one. It's some weird back-end thing between it. I did notice there was a lot of, while we're talking about trophies, not uproar, but the Horizon remaster came out on Halloween, if you recall. I didn't actually touch on it, but I have been playing it. I did check out the opening kind of 2 hours. Looks gorgeous. The way they've reworked Aloy's face, like baby Aloy. Baby Aloy always looked a bit weird. Like the head was too big for the size of the body of the child. They've redone that. It looks all gorgeous. Cutscenes, animation, the opening intro, beautiful. That game's absolutely stunning. It looks even better in the remastered one. There's no auto pop trophy. So a lot of people were unhappy because they said, I think early days in the blog, saying your progress will continue over, and it works seamlessly. You boot up the game, it says on the main menu, import PS4 save. It brought up my 8 saves from 2017 from my first playthrough of Horizon. Imported it, there I was, back in the well, looking more gorgeous than ever, all my equipment and stuff, no trophies popped. And I've seen a lot of people online going, what the hell, PlayStation? Spider-Man, Miles Morales, God of War... every other remaster they've done up until this point, here's when you've imported your save, trophies have came with it. This one, leaving a lot of people unhappy out there. I think people were expecting just a quick £10 platinum trophy. Not this time.
Yeah, well, just play the game.
Yeah, enjoy the game that you enjoyed last time enough to get the trophy. Enjoy it again. Yeah. But these are the same people who play My Name is Mayo, though, and hold it in high regard.
I like getting trophies, and I do intend to platinum Jedi Survivor. I don't play games to get trophies. So I like to save my games. I don't try to just churn through a game just so I can get on the next platinum,
Bing!
It's,
enjoy it. But, rounding up, let's get some quick news stories in this week, Richie. Sims 4. Still didn't expect to be talking about this now, but The Sims 4, believe it or not, has gained more than 15 million new players in the past year, despite the game being over a decade old. It might be, I don't know, it might be getting on a bit. Obviously, launched over 10 years ago, but doesn't seem to be dulling it down. EA constantly put out new content for this, we should say. But to put that into perspective, it took The Sims 4 6 years to amass 20 million players, but somehow they've got a further 10 in the last year. It might be they transition, if you remember, to free-to-play in October 2022.
That'll explain.
So the business model has shifted, but it's also quadrupled their audience, with EA touting 85 million players back in May this year. So we know in the last 12 months they've brought in a further 15 million players. They have announced, obviously, since then, I think they've said there's going to be no Sims 5, and they are going to be focusing on just content drops for this game. And in a weird way, I think The Sims 4 has just transitioned into being a platform without EA really realizing it. They've still, like, The Sims has always been great, and it fills such a gaming gap that I think, like FIFA and Call of Duty, there's so many gamers out there that just play The Sims for The Sims. They don't care about graphics. They're just there to build a house, make a family, realize adult life is boring, and then stop playing and come back to it in another year.
And the graphics are stylized anyway, and now they've committed to this basically being a platform, they can actually just start upgrading and tweaking graphics here and there. My only concern would be how well does the engine go? Because you might start bumping up against the limitations of what is now already at least a 10-year-old engine.
Yeah. It's
this is what we said. I personally would prefer them to do a Sims 5, and then this is going to be the platform going forward. But they've you know what, we've already got it with Sims 4, let's just turn it into it.
Yeah, I don't think they want to risk losing those players. Free-to-play for The Sims is a great shout. Like, I think I've mentioned it before on the podcast, I always get a message off my sister like once every 2 to 3 years saying, what's the login for my EA Origins account? So she can download and play The Sims for, like, again, for a week. And then that's it. My wife's the same. She just gets that itch, goes, have we got Sims on the PC? And I'm like, no, but I can install it. And now it's free to play.
Just leave it installed.
Yeah, it's just space though, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
Cloud gaming, help me out. But shout out to The Sims 4. Keeps going, keeps getting bigger and better. Also, shout out to Nintendo Switch Online for the N64. We got a shadow drop this week, Richie. You actually might have willed this into existence by talking about Turok the other week when we were referencing dinosaur games and first person. We got 2 games that have just dropped onto the Mature app for the N64. Turok 2, Seeds of Evil, and Shadow Man are both available right now for subscribers. No idea what Shadow Man is, but Turok 2, I've got fond memories playing that around my cousin's house as a child. Turok's due a remake, right? Like a reboot, remaster, fresh start. Not enough people utilize dinosaurs in games, I'm telling you. Or horror, or movies.
I don't even know who currently owns the IP, because it used to be Acclaim. I have literally no idea who owns the IP. I think it's with, I want to say it's with Xbox, but I'm not sure.
That sounds like it would be right.
Yeah.
God, they could do something good with it. Did it go across with the Rare deal? Not Rare didn't do it, I know that, but you know, like when Microsoft picked up a couple of random Nintendo studios.
Well, the last release was in 2008, and that was published by Touchstone Games.
Right.
Who, when you go into their wiki page for Touchstone Games, it goes to Touchstone Pictures, so I'm guessing they're not doing much in the gaming space.
Published by DreamWorks Classics. Well, DreamWorks don't do games anymore. Who owns the Turok franchise? Doesn't really give me an answer. That's the problem with Reddit. Sometimes you get a lot of random posts. Propaganda Games? Never heard of them. But more games for Nintendo Switch Online. Don't know what Shadow Man is, but get to it if you will. Next quick story, Alan Wake 2 has finally recouped most of the money it cost to make, but it's yet to start earning royalties. Remedy reported their financial results earlier on this week, noting that the critically acclaimed Alan Wake 2 is still yet to generate royalties, but has now recouped most of its development and marketing expenses. The long-awaited sequel struggled to sell in big numbers since its launch last year, but it's now wrapped up with the Lake House DLC as a complete package. Game of the Year award-winning Alan Wake 2 is now finished. I think, Richie, this has always been our worry talking about certain studios is... the industry's, this is back to the Concord story as well. The industry is so baffling that you can put out a game as good as Alan Wake 2 on a respectable budget as well. Remedy never go crazy because they utilize live action quite a lot instead of in-engine stuff. Alan Wake 2, one of my favorite games of all time, and yet it's only just breaking even on it recouping its costs, which does make you look at the industry and just go, no wonder people in developers and studios and production companies and publishers is so particular about what they do and where they spend the money, because something as great as this only just breaks even. It's a risky game to be in, isn't it? Like, do we do a new IP? Do we ever see an Alan Wake 3 now? Because Remedy must sit back and go, well, we didn't make much on it. We got critical acclaim, but I feel like Control 2 is going to make more money than Alan Wake, which is mad.
Yeah, I think the branding of Control is better than Alan Wake.
Yeah, we've said about the name. Yeah,
and I think this is the reason why FBC Firebreaker exists.
Yeah, to try and get money in.
Yeah, if they get a reasonable standard games as a service to keep that balance ticking over, then they can focus on the passion projects.
Yeah,
the Control 2s, the Max Paynes, the Alan Wake 3s, whatever it is. So that can keep the lights on.
Yeah. And I think Remedy in particular, they have a history. They've actually said in their own financial results before, they have a long tail of their games like sell well over long periods of time. I think Control, when Control launched, it wasn't top of the sales charts either. It came in at like second or third. But over time, it's just seen a consistent flow of sales. And I think Alan Wake being connected to that Control universe, you'd imagine is going to see like a bump when FBC comes out, when Control 2 comes out. So I think like now they've broke even, everything's profit after this, right? So that's where you want to hopefully see a return. Now the physical edition's out as well.
It's profit, but you also have to fund the next development cycle.
That is true.
So you kind of want profit plus, really.
Yeah.
So I think they've probably already seen a bump in Alan Wake 1.
Yeah.
With the release of 2. Well. So it's one of them, as the series goes on, if it keeps going from adding more and more critically acclaimed games, Control is the reason you played Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake.
Yeah.
So if Control 2 might be the reason why someone else gives them a go, then they play Control, they go back and go, I play Control 1, Control 2. Love both of them games. What else is done? Oh, Alan Wake, that's meant to be really good. Now they're getting sales on Alan Wake.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're smart enough when they're in their analysis to go, we're not panicking by this.
Yeah, absolutely.
We know we've got something good, and we know if we just be patient, keep making smart financial decisions, we'll get there.
Yeah. And I think eventually we'll get to that point where we will have an Alan Wake 3. We'll get like a collection bundle that'll hopefully be renamed to something like the Cauldron Lake or something like that. I don't know. Control FBC something collection, and the Alan Wake name kind of markets it better. But thankfully they've broke even. That's good to know. I wonder if Square Enix ever saw their money off the back of what was the game, the shooter that was on Stadia. Square Enix. It was like Division, but it was on like alien planets. It was like purple themed, and they didn't recoup the losses on that. It was from People Can Fly.
It was People Can Fly. Didn't get any money out of Square Enix, was it?
Yeah, still People Can Fly games. Outriders. There you go. You've got it before me. Yeah, Outriders. Who knows what's going on with that? But I doubt we'll see a sequel if they're not making money. What hopefully will make some money, though, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is on the horizon. It's my next big game. I'm very excited for it. And the previews dropped this week. And it's doing really well, Richie. A lot of the reviews and a lot of the podcasts I've listened to have kind of praised it for it feels ultimately Indiana Jones. It's not a run-and-gun shooter like Wolfenstein. It's more puzzle, exploration, stealth. A lot of people have been given a big Dishonored vibes and saying, actually, finding an outfit to change into, to go under the radar against guards, not using your gun that much, maneuvering around the level and taking people out to clear an area before doing your investigation stuff, is really good. Reading some of the kind of preview content, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, I'm delighted to say it's shaping up to be what Marvel's Spider-Man is and the Batman Arkham games are to their respective superheroes. That's to say, this is a faithful, lovingly made adventure, but puts you in the dusty boots of Dr. Jones like never before. Can't wait to play more. Windows Central. If what I experience is representative of the full and finished product, it's a big win for Microsoft and Xbox. Joining Call of Duty Black Ops 2 to close the year out on an incredibly strong note after a 3-hour hands-on impression. GameSpot, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle feels like an amalgamation of many genres, but appears to be striking the right balance between them, all in favour of honouring the spirit of Indiana Jones, the archaeology professor and adventurer. Whilst 90 minutes wasn't enough time to get full scope of everything the game has to offer, it gave me a great taste of the kind of action puzzle game seldom seen in a AAA space, and that one that is shaping up to be an impressive display of Machine Games' toolset and understanding the moulding of game design around a protagonist and story. So I'm hyped for this as a huge Indiana Jones fan. I've started watching the movies again with my wife in the lead up to it. It's 9th of December it launches, so you've got about 5 weeks until it comes out now. And as a nice bonus for our channel, this has led me to think, well, actually, what can we do to celebrate the launch of it? So for members, this is where I was teasing at the beginning of the show.
And I spoiled last week.
And you spoiled last week, so if anyone checked out last week's show, you'll know. I'm going to go back and play different Indiana Jones games leading up to it. So I've got a couple of them picked out to go through with the audience as well. Members will get this early, but I've started with Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb on the PlayStation 2. I've got Indiana Jones and the Staff of Kings, which is actually the last story Indiana Jones game we saw. I've got Lego Indiana Jones 1 and randomly Lego Indiana Jones 2. We've got a second game apparently, which is The Adventure Continues, which is the Crystal Skull movie and then just extra expansions on levels from the previous trilogy movies. But yeah, I'm a huge Indiana Jones fan. I think what I'm getting from the Troy Baker's performance and these hands-on impressions, I'm looking forward to it. It's not just going to be run and gun shooter, which I think is the right thing. And they've said in some interviews, I think Todd Howard was doing the rounds, saying they've done over 3 hours worth of cutscenes, which is longer than all the movies. So you're essentially going to get another movie in this game. And I hope it does for me what the James Bond games used to do for me, where I get to just experience a franchise that I really love in the video game world, which is my biggest hobby of all time. So I'm really, really hyped for Indiana Jones. Cannot wait.
What the impression I'm getting from reading these previews is they haven't just took a semi-decent first-person action game and slapped the IP over it. They've really thought about, delved into what the IP is, crafted the game to suit that, so the mechanics and the IP working in like synergy to form something great. This is what I complained about Marvel's Avengers, where I feel like a mediocre game that they just slap the Avengers title over and hope it do well.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt to players. Like the IP was, when the IP was doing the heavy lifting, they had a good game. But as soon as the gameplay was doing the heavy lifting, you had a crap game. This feels like the two work like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where the gameplay and the IP work so well hand in hand. I feel like Machine Games have done their homework properly here.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait. But last quick ones. This is more of a bonus point for folks. Funnily enough, as you say, IP there. Guardians of the Galaxy and a bunch of other titles are going to be free across the course of the month with Prime Gaming. Now, we don't usually do promos like this, but I saw a couple of folks now on Discord talking about it. Just get on Prime Gaming if you've got Amazon Prime and just claim them, because they link to your GOG account, they link to your Epic account, and you just have them in your library. November's titles, just running quickly through them. Available now at the time of recording, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which is just an epic single-player story adventure. For everything Richie hates about Marvel's Avengers, Guardians does the opposite of that. It's a rich, great character, story-driven action-adventure game that's probably about 15 to 20 hours long. Really fun, music's amazing in it, and as someone who was maybe put off a lot by it not looking like the MCU counterparts, after like the first 50 minutes, you don't care. And it's a great, really, really fun game. Definitely recommend it. Mafia Definitive Edition. Maybe I will play it eventually. And then quickly run through the list. You've got Dishonored coming. Trying to pick out the big ones. If you see any, Richie, shout out. Tomb Raider Anniversary Edition. Overcooked is coming. Super Meat Boy is coming. Jurassic World Evolution is coming. and a couple of other interstitial indie games in between. Across various countries, it does differ, but Saints Row the Third, Fallout 3, etc. is on there as well. So go check them out.
New Vegas Ultimate Editions there, Fortnite, Lego Fortnite
for free.
Lots of Fortnite, X Defiant.
Crazy, right?
Trackmania. Some good stuff there.
It is, some absolutely good stuff. And then the last news story of the week, I want to just get this in. We always round out with the kind of movies and TV, video game related stuff. House of the Dead is in the works from the Resident Evil director. So House of the Dead, that famous arcade game that you probably all played and lost many a pounds on back in the probably late 90s, right? I feel like that was when it was in the arcades. It was definitely when we were like proper kids going down to them. The same person who did Mortal Kombat not the recent Mortal Kombat, then the 1995 one, and Monster Hunter 2022 is coming back to make House of the Dead, which probably means he's going to come back with is it Mila Djokovic? This seems to be his go-to actress, so she'll probably be in this in some capacity. House of the Dead. I guess it's, for me, it's not about the campaign. It's just the brand name. I think House of the Dead is a good horror name to have, and I think putting that on a movie, it'll probably sell tickets in and around Halloween release purely because the name, it's the House of the Dead, right, as well. Not House of Dead of the Dead.
Yes,
it's
the House of
the Dead, which I think everyone gets wrong. But yeah, no feelings towards it for me. I enjoyed the game as a kid, but it doesn't make me want to go out and watch a movie about it. But
you know what? Next year, a nice Halloween movie, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. Cheap to make, decent return on it, and it'll probably be a solid horror movie if that's what you're into.
The original Resident Evil film was really good. I enjoyed
it, especially with the lasers when that guy got cheese grated.
Everyone remembers the lasers.
Everyone remembers the lasers. But yeah, we like to round out every show by looking at this day in video game history. We're recording on the Sunday, so it's a little bit late this week because we were at a wedding. And we did many shots, but we're here, survived. And we're not hungover because we recorded a day later, tactically, this time round. Which means It is November the 3rd. We're in November. We're into spooky season, winter season, probably Christmas season for all the shops out there now. But let's see what games came out, Richard, on November the 3rd. Any particular highlights for you throughout the years?
Oh, I mean, there's Crash Bandicoot Warped.
Yeah, Crash Bandicoot Warped 26 years ago in 1998.
Is Warp the third one?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I always thought Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped.
No, just Warped.
It's not just Crash Bandicoot Warped.
Yeah, it's where he got his bazooka.
Warp.
He got his motorbike. It's when the level variation really stepped up, where it kind of started leaning to more it's like vehicles, and you played as other characters as well for the first time. You rode on a tiger, a polar bear, a bunch of other things. What else is there?
Can I just pick up one just purely on the name alone because I think it's amazing?
Yeah.
Ratchet and Clank, Up Your Arsenal.
Oh yeah, the Ratchet and Clank games always have.
They had some fun titling that.
Put on words, yeah. Up Your Arsenal. Need for Speed. Oh, that just says 9 years ago. That can't be right. Need for Speed. Oh, sorry, not the first one. It's the reboot one they did.
Yeah.
Not a great one. Don't worry about that.
Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS. Great game.
Yeah, I'm just looking ahead a couple of days. Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap 20 years ago on a Game Boy Advance.
Made by Capcom, actually, not Nintendo.
Oh.
One of the rare times when another publisher has worked on a Nintendo IP.
Interesting.
And actually it's been successful.
Resistance 2, 16 years ago tomorrow. A couple of things. And then if we look forward to November 5th, Twisted Metal came out 29 years ago on the PlayStation 1 in 1995. And Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, 27 years ago. So a couple of games. 17 years ago. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, 17 years ago. And Black Ops 3, 9 years ago. So
I think in this kind of few day period that we're looking at, there's so many Call of Duties listed because this is the traditional Call of Duty release window.
That's why,
because we're not going to list them all.
No, not at all. But that brings us to the end of this week's episode of the Gamer Guild Podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget, members, you'll be getting some Indiana Jones content very, very soon leading up to the launch of The Great Circle. Go check it out. Exclusive content for you earlier than the public get it. Stickers and badges next year for your supporters, and you can join from as little as 99p by clicking join below. If you don't want to do that, still support us by commenting, liking, subscribing, ringing, dinging that bell so you kept in the loop with all the great content like this very show, like our weekly live streams, our retro looks back, and everything else in between. Thank you very much for tuning in, listening, however you've consumed our content. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been the Gamer Guild Podcast. And remember, folks, play whatever makes you the happiest. Have a great week. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.